Sorry, my mom came like bursting into my room this morning and was like, "We need to get ready, blah, blah, blah. Grandma's coming," and I was like, "What?"
Welcome to the TYF DC Debrief via YouTube Live. You know, because we're trying to find the time to do the podcast, and life just gets in the way. But so welcome back to
I'm blushing.
on the TYF DC Debrief. You will find the voices of myself, Evan Griffin, and my friend Allison Johnson over here. The two of us being editors at theyoungfolks.com, also the two who do the weekly superhero coverage for the CW. Previously not the CW, but now Supergirl is thrown into the fray. So, in between your 4-day-a-week superhero watchings for your DC shenanigans, you got us talking about it, doing discussions, supplemental materials to our weekly recap reviews. So, Allie, do you want to, since, you know, The Flash was the first one, that kind of was a big deal.
Sure. I thought I'm still reeling from my rant at the open of this. In case anybody's wondering how my life's going, that was a good opener. But the
Grandma will love it.
I thought The Flash, I didn't think it fixed all of its problems of season 2, but I thought it fixed enough to make it promising, so that we're entering season 3 a little bit more optimistic than season 2 left us, which was a bit of a it was just a bit of a downer, because I kept thinking, I'm like, oh no, it's gonna go the Arrow route where it's adding too much too soon, and it's making it too self-serious in a way that it doesn't need to because it's The Flash. But so yeah, that was my main concern going into it. But I do think that they, despite some serious content and the fact that Barry has to make this really terrible decision to let his mother, spoilers, die, once again at the hands of the Reverse Flash, I thought that it took a lighter touch to everything, which was really greatly appreciated, because I think in a show like The Flash, one of the best things about season 1 was that it tackled serious subject matter and emotional subject matter, but it did it with an optimism, and it did it without ever compromising its general tone, which I think season 2 did. I think it sacrificed a lot of what made it special for the sake of making darker storylines. So I thought the premiere was really good. I'm excited to see how the season plays out now that he's had to make this decision to kind of live with the consequences of his own selfish actions.
I have an interjection about that. I don't like that decision, and it bounces off of the fact that you said how everything is so self-serious. I feel like that this third fractured, technically 4th or 5th fractured timeline that Barry has made in his life, this one, if everyone is super duper serious and super duper dramatic, there's nothing light in tone about this world that Barry's living in right now.
I understand that, and in a sense, I agree with you. What I do think it opens up the possibility for is that for Barry to be the lighter character in the series, he'll be the kind of optimism or the beacon of light, so to speak, amongst all these kind of mopey characters. But I do think, while it sucks that we are going down this storyline that is serious and a little bit more...
Rude point.
Yeah, it's very... It's very brooding and whatnot.
I made that up.
Yeah, copyright Evan Griffin. I do think it's nice that they're showing Barry having to live with the consequences of his own actions, rather than allowing him to just rewrite history once again to get what he wants. I think if season 2 hadn't happened, I would be totally 100% on the board with this decision. But because we went through season 2, which was a bit of a letdown after season 1, it's less so. But otherwise, up until that decision, and up until the point that this world is kind of drearier, I thought that it was a very interesting take. But let's move on to...
Well, what I was going to say was another thing about The Flash that I actually like about what it's doing is something similar to what Legends is doing a little bit, but we'll get to Legends in a minute. But it's actually the current timeline that he's in that I enjoy, is that it's kind of mashing all these different things together that we've seen from different timelines. So we actually get to see Caitlin finally as Killer Frost. We're getting the rival back, and we're getting, you know, our Reverse Flash. We're getting our dose of Harry. We're getting our dose of his daughter. We're getting a dose of maybe Wally ending up being the Kid Flash. All of these things, all these different possibilities are kind of just merging together thanks to this alchemy character. So I like that aspect.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, I'm ready to give it a third episode of a chance, you know, to see what kind of season it's going to end up being. And I think the first and second episodes gave us two very different options in that regard. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on Arrow, because that is very much the extreme version of what we don't want the Flash to be.
Yeah, it is definitely the extreme version of what we don't want the Flash to be. And I almost wonder if my initial watching of the season premiere of Arrow was just kind of like my palate was refreshed or something like that. But I've gotten a lot less cynical about it at this point in time. And I actually kind of like the tone that it's going for. It's a lot more focused from the couple episodes I've seen this year. If not from a lack of
mainly characters and awful aren't a thing.
Yeah, exactly. They have other than, I don't know what's going on beyond what we've seen the first two, but what's going on between him and Felicity for right now is pretty damn platonic. Unless there's subtext that I'm totally not getting. But as long as they two of them are forcing a business relationship with each other, sure, you can have your subtext, you can have your struggle. That's fine, but they work really well, and it's reminding me of how they kind of were in season 2. I like that Curtis is finally kind of, you know, getting his chance to make a stand against whatever it is he's going to make a stand for. This girl, this like 12-year-old girl they have on the show, there's rumors she might end up being Artemis.
Well, yeah, because she's confirmed for this season.
Yes. And, yeah, right age. And then Wild Dog, dude who's going to be kind of like Roy, and he's going to go AWOL, whatever, who cares. I thought they were going to kind of keep Diggle in the background a little bit, but this week it was kind of annoying to me where they had an entire flashback-style subplot for him that didn't really amount to a whole much of anything. Do you have any thoughts on any of that?
No, I don't know, because like it's like I always want more Diggle, but I always want less flashbacks.
Well, here's the other thing is we want Diggle, and we like Diggle as a character, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he's the guy that gives you pep talks. He's the Bob Saget of the DC universe.
Hey now. Okay.
As in his Full House character.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean. I understand the problem of that comparison.
Mr. Bob Saget. Diggle's Uncle Jesse.
Thank you. Diggle's the Uncle Jesse. It's the soapy. So when he's talking to this other guy that he's out on this mission with, you know, and whether he's reflecting on his time in the Team Arrow or not, it cuts back to him in 2 different instances. It's like they forgot to cut one of the 2 pep talks that they had filmed for this.
Yeah,
and then the dude ends up dead.
It seems like a poor waste of David Ramsey's significant amount of skill.
Yes.
So that's what I always get frustrated with his subplots. But
however, I think Stephen Amell is doing really, really strong so far this season, at least from the 2 episodes.
I genuinely think Stephen Amell can be really good. I just think he's a case scenario where it's an actor needing really specifically good material written for him. You know,
absolutely.
He needs to play to his strengths, kind of to an obnoxious degree. But when it does, he does a really good job. And you're like, you know what? I get it. I get why he fits his character, and I get the charisma and the darkness and everything. But when it's not good, it like sums up the whole show and how cringeworthy it can be.
And this week, when he was playing Scary Guy, when it was him as Green Arrow, as Scary Green Arrow, it was kind of teetering there a little bit. But it kind of reminded me that, oh, wait, this guy wasn't always likable to a lot of people, really at all. And I almost wonder I almost wonder if he's better off not being likable at the end of the day. Anyway, but I think this season will be an interesting season for him as a character, as it's kind of creeping up on the 10th anniversary of him ending up on the island, of his parents' death, of Sarah's supposed death. So
yeah,
I think some of that will come to a head, and I already like the Russian backstory, the him training in the Bratva and all of the Spetsnaz style training. I like that backstory and specific moment flashbacks that make sense to the plotting of the episode, rather than overarching like, all right, we're setting up this big magic voodoo thing that's going to pay off at the end of the season. That didn't work for me last year.
Yeah, it didn't work for me either. But yeah, I have similar thoughts. I'm probably a little bit more negative about the whole series than you are, just because I'm so sick of certain elements. But to segue into a show that I am not sick about and I am like super excited for after its premiere is Supergirl.
Yes, which is the first time I watched the first 9 episodes up through the Martian reveal last year, the Flash cameo, and then I watched the last 2 on Netflix. Oh,
you need to watch Red Faced. It's Red Faced.
Red Tornado. Red Tornado. I did watch the Red Tornado.
The episode's called Red Faced, and then the episode Falling, where she turns evil due to red kryptonite. That's the best episode of the series.
Okay.
By far. But up until this, I think, because unlike Arrow, or maybe a little bit like it now, it's realized what works for the series and what doesn't. And the CW really hammered that home with this episode, which introduced Superman without ever making him the focal point. Like, he is a supporting character on Supergirl's show, which I thought was really important. I also thought Tyler Hoechlin was really good as Superman.
I actually was surprised also at how much I enjoyed his presence.
I don't know if it's because, like, I'm so fucking sick of Henry Cavill's portrayal of this apathetic, icy version of Superman, which is so polar opposite of what I'm used to.
To his credit, everyone in that movie universe is apathetic.
Yeah, but he's the worst one, because he's Superman, and he's supposed to be a fucking Boy Scout. And, like, he does not care. And he's like, whatever, humans are stupid. I just want to...
I listen to Slipknot.
Linkin Park. But, like... but, yeah, so I just think I was excited to see a Superman who knew how to smile. And, like, who made... Right. It was like the Brandon Routh...
You see this? This means hope. I'm smiling.
A little bit, but it's just, you know, it's... Is it a little cheesy still? Absolutely. But it was an episode that kind of justified, I guess, why I've stuck around with the series through all of last season, beyond the fact that I just love DC's TV series. And I think Melissa Benoist is still marvelous as Supergirl. I think she is so charming. But
she is absolutely still the best part of the show so far.
Oh, without a doubt. Her and I'm forgetting her name right now for no reason, but Cat Grant.
Ally McBeal.
Yeah. Well, another show. She's really, really great, too. So I'm sad about her impending exit, it seems like. But the only thing I had a big issue with on the show, or on the episode, and it's not because I was particularly attached to the pairing, but it's because of how quickly it was swept under the rug for somebody who watched all season last year and saw the build-up to it, was the Kara and James decoupling that felt more like a series head writers being like, oh, we can't have that couple together yet because it's way too early in the series. Let's pull them apart and wait.
They could have at least done what they did in like the 2nd season of How I Met Your Mother. They could have tried that.
Yeah, it's just like...
You know, I took it for what it was, which was another CW will they, won't they.
But to me,
I wasn't all that invested in the first place.
Yeah, I wasn't invested, but it seems too much of a hard button pushing of the reset button. You know, like it was like, nope, we can't go down this road yet. So that was the only issue I really had with the episode. I really liked everything else.
I didn't particularly mind the angle they took on it, at least the explanation for her, where she's like, "Oh, I'm a millennial, so I kind of care more about my career right now and worrying about that instead of the
Yeah.
person I like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't think they did it with enough grace. Like, I think it was too rushed.
Oh, it was absolutely rushed. Yeah, that was kind of just thrown in last minute, I feel like. It's kind of side note, but back to Travis as Superman. You know what he reminded me of was more than, and I like Brandon Routh, reminded me more of Christopher Reeve's Superman than Brandon Routh's ever did.
Well, that's what I meant. I was gonna couple the both of them together in the sense that it kind of has more of a modern good looks of Brandon Routh, but with like the old schooly charm of Christopher Reeve.
But they're really, really sticking with the no pants thing. I don't get it. Why do they not want to give him the red pants?
Because it's like too cartoony, but I don't really know why. Like, it seems ridiculous to me.
They put too much effort into like accentuate. I kid you not. Like, go to the DVD of Superman Returns. They're like, the costumer was like, yeah, we put a lot of effort in accentuating the bulge here. And I'm like, can't you just make it normal? There's a middle ground here.
They don't know how to make it like censor happy, but also like enough to prove. I don't know. Yeah, but
no idea. But I also.
Oh wait, what?
Well, I was just because I also like the world building, how he and Jean have a history, him and Martian Manhunter, so it already kind of feels like it's built up in a way, and there could be something cool, some backstory telling there.
Any kind of world building like that kind of like makes me shriek as a fan. You know, I'm like, Martian Manhunter and Superman are hanging out. Oh my god!
Except like, they're totally not happy with each other, and I can't wait to find out the reason.
Like, fan blinders go over my eyes. I'm like, I'm just so, as a fan of the cartoons when I was a kid, I'm just so thrilled that like I kind of block everything else out. But yeah, I'm really. I kind of want to hear about your Legends of Tomorrow thoughts, because I don't know how to handle the series without Captain Cold.
Well, okay, here's the deal is I have plenty to say about Legends of Tomorrow because it feels like there is so much coming to a head as a result of it happening. I have like 3 different bullet points of the significance to these other shows. It's like the appendices of this DC TV universe, and I actually really like it. And it also doesn't take away from all this time that they spent the last 2 seasons setting up these characters. You know what I mean? Like, there was so much of the fall portion of these seasons last year, right, where they were setting up your team members for the Legends, whether they ended up surviving or ending up in this season or not. Because not only do we not have Captain Cold, we also don't have Kendra and Carter because they decided they wanted to go have a...
Because the show realized how terrible they were.
Fucking hawk wedding. I don't know. But I think that because of the nature of what's going on with these shows right now, between Barry's split timelines and the Legends being their own masters of time because the Time Masters are now completely eliminated, I think anything is possible. Laurel could come back to life due to popular demand. I know Captain Cold will probably end up making a return because he's obviously one of the most, popular characters, at least the most popular villain character out of all of these. But even just, Sarah, we finally get to see her reaction and her attempt to take vengeance on Damien Dark because she wasn't able to participate in any of that towards the end of last season. So that could be a huge deal considering that he's already being a cameo in this episode. And I kind of hope that carries through because, sorry, spoiler alert for people who haven't watched this, but this is kind of spoiler talk. We're already getting a villainous pairing of the Reverse Flash and Damien Dark, which are 2 of the strongest villain characters in all of these shows. And guess what? Vandal Savage is nowhere to be found in any of this. If he's operating in the shadows, fine. But I'm totally okay with all 13 episodes of season 2 being these 2 villains and them just completely ruining the timeline. But sorry, I'm kind of rambling here about all the cool possibilities. But for all we know, the mid-season finale could end up being that it's the Legends that are the ones that get Barry back to the timeline that he was from, fixing that fractured timeline because they have the ability to mess with these things that have already been ruined. For all we know, we're almost positive that's how Supergirl's going to get merged in with their universe. But who knows if Superman's going to be there when that's over? Who says that Laurel can't come back? Who says that something won't happen to half of the Legends team, in a detrimental way?
That's what that's what I'm kind of exciting about, that I find exciting about this season of Legends of Tomorrow, is that it does seem kind of like a revolving door of possibilities of superheroes. But my big thing while watching it and everything, beyond the fact that Arthur Darvill is playing the captain, is it feels very Doctor Who-ish this season to me.
The whole thing always felt Doctor Who-ish to me, particularly through last season. But I don't have a history with Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, it did last year for me, but without like the charm of it. It was fun, but it didn't have that kind of earnest atmosphere that makes Doctor Who so kind of enjoyable to watch, regardless of who is on screen.
There was also a lot of broody world building going on last season too. There was a lot of exposition between the timelines, the Time Masters, Rip Hunter, and Vandal Savage.
Yeah, so that's why I think that the idea of them having kind of an overarching villain throughout the whole season, but having also a villain of the week could work really well to their advantage, especially if it has that kind of Doctor Who hokey sci-fi vibe going on. But yeah, so that's kind of all my thoughts. I'm just really glad, and I never thought I would ever say this, but I'm really glad that Hawk Girl isn't on anymore.
Well, I don't know if it was her performing or the material she had, but it was
both. It was both terrible.
Oh, bad.
I don't think I can ever forgive the show for how terribly they ruined Hawk Girl, my favorite character. I am just so mad. But yeah.
Yeah, the CG was okay.
What?
The CG was okay. It's all right. And that's one thing that I could at least say that these shows aren't doing so great, save for The Flash, is, your visual effects, guys. But that being said, with the budgets that they're working with,
I do have to wonder if you saw an unfinished product though with the first episode at least.
Well, I mean, we were watching screener copies those first episodes, so
yeah. So I don't know.
I'll have to go back and watch Legends from last night on the DVR.
And I honestly don't, again, as somebody who has watched Doctor Who, special effect, and like a lot of shows on sci-fi recently, like I don't get as bothered by special effects if I know that the budget is small. If the budget's big and I know that, and the special effects are still terrible, that's when I'm like, what are you doing? But yeah.
Yeah, this is about right. Oh, by the way, a little airing of grievance here. CW pulled support from Hulu. What are you guys doing? Can you just make it a little easy for people to support your shows? Do we have to use your app that on record crashes once every time an episode streams? You knew about that, right?
I don't know what they expect us to do for such a small little channel that is looking for big support.
No, for anybody that wants to watch the show. I was excited about Supergirl because I'm like, oh great, so it's gonna go to Hulu, right? It's gonna I'll be able to keep up with it without going on demand. Nope, you gotta DVR it if you have cable, or go on demand if you have cable. Go to your web browser, which is gonna be really laggy, or go to the CW app that's gonna crash.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a whole conversation that I could have for like an entire day about how I think streaming networks are finally coming to a head, and it's just Comcast all over again, where you're paying a monthly fee in separate amounts for a whole lot of nothing. But I won't go there.
Okay. So after seeing all of them and seeing what there has been so far, which out of the four are you the most excited to watch this season?
I didn't say this last. I would not have said this by the time the season finale came about last spring, but after the first episode, I'm going to say Legends, if not just because I'm comfortable with the current cast of characters. I like the villains that they're setting up. I like even if it is just kind of scenario or monster or villain of the week formula, the possibility of them going to any different time, place, and space to fix a problem in the timeline. Even if they go World War II on it for a few episodes, I'm totally okay with that. But tangent, how great is it that they're actually doing a really good job of having all of these characters cross-connect so far? Because even just this week, we had characters from multiple things going on simultaneously, like Felicity in the episode of The Flash. We had Oliver in the episode of Legends of Tomorrow. I think it's really cool that we're getting finally some interplay instead of just doing it twice a season.
Crossover.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that too because it does make it feel like an extended universe, which is obviously the whole plan for the series, like world building to begin with. But I think we'll touch on that in just a second when we talk about the crossover coming. But I do like how it's been incorporated. But
Oh, I totally just ranted about that already.
No, it's good. But for me, I guess I'm kind of having a similar moment of how I never would have said this last year, but Supergirl is I'm most excited for. I really loved the premiere. I watched it twice. I really adored it, and it does touch upon a lot of things that I personally look for in superhero films and superhero TV shows, essentially with a strong female cast across the board. And like not just a strong superhero, like a strong female superhero. I mean like supporting characters too, which is really important. And the most important relationships on the show are between women. So that excites me. The new pseudo possible villain in Lena Luthor is exciting to me.
I like that. I forgot until you just mentioned, but I totally enjoy that setup, making her a completely different kind of character than the previous two Luthors. Yeah. I think that's a great idea.
Or it's going to be a Smallville situation where they start out as friends and grow to be enemies, and that'll make it more poignant. So I think that's really interesting. I like the incorporation of Superman. I think the special effects look good, and I think it's honing in on what makes the storylines interesting. And I think ditching the week-to-week procedural aspect of the CBS version of the show is going to be the greatest asset that it has moving forward. So I'm really excited to see how Supergirl thrives under the CW's header. I think it's really exciting to be a fan of the show.
I believe the characters themselves are already impressed with the expanded budget, as we saw when they arrived at the new DEO headquarters in that episode.
Yeah, but it's funny because it's a lesser budget.
Is it a lesser budget?
Oh my god, by a ton.
Well, they got new headquarters, so it looks good.
I think the difference is that the CW understands at this point how to utilize the budget they have for superhero shows, whereas CBS could get really excellent exterior shots and stuff, but they didn't know how to do special effects.
Yeah.
Which is something that the CW has learned to do on a really small budget for how many seasons together between the other shows. So I think that's going to be an asset rather than a detriment like many people thought. But the last thing I wanted us to kind of touch upon when I was talking to you beforehand was how do you think the big crossover event is going to happen? I want to do some speculation.
Well, I kind of already touched on that a little bit. Oh, geez.
On why it's great, but there's going to be one.
It's obviously going to merge everything together. It's obviously going to be some kind of merging everything together as a result of probably Reverse Flash and Damien Dark, I would imagine, right?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Well, why would they incorporate those two characters teaming up together, if not then to set up some kind of, heroic merger ultimately?
I don't know. for fun. What if it's like just a rando bad guy that comes and they all have to go and fight him?
Oh, like the Promethean guy. He just, is totally a Batman character pulled from nowhere and made into a Green Arrow villain again.
I don't know. I didn't think it was gonna be so easy of a question, but I guess you're right. Do you think it's gonna be awesome?
Well, I mean, the part that I can piece together, I feel like exactly how the plotting could go. But what's really fun to me is thinking about how Supergirl and hopefully maybe Superman or at least Martian Manhunter would interact with these other characters in a sandbox. Because as we've talked before, that's one of my favorite aspects of just the Avengers. It's not the action scenes, but putting them in a box together and seeing what kind of chemical reactions you get. So I think that's going to be a cool possibility. But even the action sequences, seeing what they do with a combined budget, and for all we know, it's going to be a massive plot that's going to span over the course of 4 episodes.
But just
because you have 4 shows that are working simultaneously here. So
we're gonna get our live action Justice League Unlimited with White Canary, Atom, Firestorm, Superman, Supergirl, The Flash, Arrow, Speedy, Artemis,
Zombie Black Canary.
That's so amazing! I'm so excited about that.
The only one you're missing. The only one you're really missing is Batman
and Wonder Woman.
And Wonder Woman. That's right.
But yeah, so I am just in Martian Manhunter. So
right.
Like pulling my hair out type excited for this crossover.
That's gonna be pretty awesome.
I'm stoked. I am so excited. So yeah, I guess that was an easy one. Do you have any other thoughts?
I'm wondering if that, well, I had mentioned before if Barry is going to try to get the Legends to help him piece the timeline back together to the way it was before. I'm wondering if that is how things are going to get merged, or if that would be something that is briefly mentioned, but they're going to tell him that they can't do after a certain point.
See, my assumption was that it's just like this is it. Like they're just gonna have to live with this timeline that they're in, and that he's not gonna try to fix it. Cause that was what Jay Garrick, the real Jay Garrick, told him. So, but I don't know. Like I hadn't thought of that.
But the laws of the science of how the Flashpoint and the Speed Force work are completely different from what the Legends deal with. You see, you know what I mean? And it.
Yeah,
that space-time works a little differently, and because time is a constantly shifting thing that group of people are working within right now, the pieces fall together way too seamlessly to me to make it not end up being that. But maybe I'm setting expectations too differently.
Yeah, I mean, my guess right now would be that that's not going to happen. But now, because you think it is going to happen, I'm interested to see which one of us is right. So let's mark this now that we have opposing views.
If not that, then somebody's going to try to get something changed. And I'm actually just as much, if not more, interested in seeing how exactly it is that what forces them to come together.
Yeah, no, me too, definitely.
Because obviously, as it is right now, Supergirl exists in an alternate timeline, so something's gonna get changed in that event. Something is gonna just force blunt her universe with their universe together.
I assumed it was just his Flashpoint experience in general, but we just haven't found out yet.
Well, because if he goes and types something into, Felicity's computer, because when he had the crossover with her, he was in an alternate universe, an alternate timeline, and then he went back, and so he exists completely separate and tangential. Like there's no Supergirl or Superman in National City. If he went and Googled a whole bunch of stuff to find details on what's different. I would think that would have like come up and he would have recognized something.
You would hope so, but let's not put it past the show to miss that as a like loophole.
I have faith I have faith in the intelligence of Greg Berlanti to not pass that up.
Fingers crossed, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now I'm curious to see what does happen in that regard. But yeah, I still feel like Barry's not going to try to fuck with it anymore.
We'll see. And like I said, this is like the fourth, maybe fifth time that he has split into a different timeline, because people tend to forget about the tragedy with the tsunami that happened in season 1 that caused him to do his first time jump.
Yeah, that or the time where he was with Vandal Savage last season. I feel like because most people try to block out a lot of season 2, they forget about that.
Oh yeah, that's right, because of the whole Oliver Felicity lying bullshit.
Like,
oh wow, that arc was really frustrating to watch.
Yeah, more than a little bit.
Glad that's over.
I agree. Stupid Oliver, stupid Felicity, more Flash and Supergirl and Legends of Tomorrow.
But overall, across the board, it looks pretty promising so far.
Yes, that's true too. Optimism. But yeah, I don't know. That's about it for me. I kind of wait until the season dives more into everything, I guess, to like really have an opinion. But everything does look promising so far. I think it's worth mentioning. I don't know, like, or hammering home the idea that this is a bi-weekly.
Yes, we are doing this show now formatted as bi-weekly, so it's going to give us a little bit more meat to talk about because we now got four episodes a week, and we're going to continue recapping, but we're obviously quite busy, so we're going to be doing this kind of twice a month, which works because these shows end up going on hiatus anyway, so that way we're not left with like 2 episodes to talk about at any given point in time.
Try to figure out different formats. I'm curious to hear what length of episode people are interested in listening to, because Evan, I know you're like a super podcast person, like you can listen to super long ones, whereas I kind of cap out at 45 to an hour at the most, and that's depending on what podcast it is and if I'm listening to like multiple episodes at once, you know. So I'm curious, like I don't think I could listen to 1 2-hour podcast. You know what I mean? Like it'd have to be like 2 1 hours. But
right. No, not like 4 hours back to back of podcasts. No. So basically, hey, if you're listening to the podcast, welcome to the TYF family. You're welcome. Feel free to reach out to us on our Facebook page, on Twitter. Let us know like in what situation are you usually listening to the podcast? Are you doing it while you're working? Are you doing it in office? Are you commuting, driving?
On the Boston people.
Yeah, that's commuting. Or even if there's specific topics that you want us to be talking about, or like Allie said, like what other podcasts do you know and like? We're gonna try to mix things up a little bit as we move forward here, but we always wanted to make sure that we are doing some thorough discussion of the details of these episodes that we don't get to talk about in our weekly recaps that you can find all of between her and I for the 4 shows every week on the website, unless we miss one.
Yeah,
in which case,
which happens.
we missed it.
It happens. Not often, but sometimes because of.
And Alex, do you want to plug any other podcasts that you're on for?
Yeah. Well, first look for this because it might end up on iTunes sooner than later because most of our podcasts have made the jump as of late. But make sure if you're listening to this and you're interested in what we have to say over the young folks to listen to Define, which includes me, editor-in-chief Gabrielle Bondi, and fellow film entertainment writer Melissa Byrne. And it's about diversity in Hollywood. And every month or so, we pick a certain topic and we run with it. And this upcoming month, we're going to be talking about diverse representation in film that isn't the norm. You know, like not always representing tragedy, but representing real life. So we're going to be talking about Moonlight, Luke Cage, We're going to be talking about Atlanta, so make sure to check that out. But also, for the one that I run is Finding Her Voice, which is about female directors, and we do it each month. And if you'd like to join the fun for October, we're going to be watching The Invitation and A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, both on Netflix, and it's female horror films, so that's going to be our subject. And we post it live so people can join in. So check it out. Yeah. So yeah, I did have things to plug.
Hey, you know what? If somebody listens to it, then they can find the other podcast. I'm sure it would come up in related stuff. Anyway, this will go nice. Very good. And then I'm going to be starting up a video game podcast. We're still working out the kinks on the format, but we're going to be doing that bi-weekly. I'm going to be on that. So 1 week I'll be here, 1 week I'll be there. More than likely be joined by our writer Tyler Carlson, a friend of mine, Miles Stanton. We'll probably be featuring it on Twitch, so you can watch that live, and then we'll be archiving it to iTunes later. That'll be a general games news and topic discussion podcast with just general BS. That's probably going to be like 50-75% of it. So yeah, thanks for tuning in and listening to us talk about our likes and dislikes and theories. Feel free to share yours. Thanks for tuning in.